This is the Trump stock market because my polls against Biden are so good that investors are projecting that I will win and that I will drive the stock market up. Everything else is terrible. Watch the Middle East, and record-setting inflation has already taken its toll. Make America great again. Ah, yes, stock markets, famously responsive to errant presidential polls 11 months out before the election. Tell you what, it sure is convenient how, if the stock market goes up, Trump gets all the credit, even...
You just saw a glimpse of what's coming up from MSNBC, but stay with us. We'll roll the full clip later, and trust me, it's a must-watch. But first, let's dive into the current buzz. Trump's in a tailspin, while Biden receives the news he's been eagerly anticipating. If you're all about staying updated with engaging discussions and top-notch commentary, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and get ready for more content just like this. Now let's get into it. The stock market is not the economy, and claiming its ups and downs as definitive proof of a successful or failing economic policy is an oversimplification. But let's look at the facts. Record-setting inflation is a global phenomenon, not just an American problem, exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic and international supply chain disruptions. Something that politicians often conveniently ignore when it fits their narrative. The Middle East is repeatedly used as a political football. However, it's not merely Trump's watch that needs to be wary. The reality is complex, with geopolitical dynamics that transcend any single administration. Yet many conservatives point fingers without acknowledging the broader context and America's long-standing challenges in the region, challenges that Trump, in his term, did not magically solve. When we scrutinize the narrative, there seems to be a clear disconnect. If the market's up, Trump claims credit. If it's down, subject to the slightest breeze of a poll, it's irrelevant. It's an adroit yet intellectually dishonest game of heads I win, tails you still lose. The Biden campaign touts its economic milestones, GDP growth, low unemployment, wage growth exceeding inflation, attributing them to Biden's policies, while conservatives counter by painting a catastrophic economic picture, without fairly considering the impact of global factors or the fallout of the Trump administration's actions. Trump's boastful rhetoric about bringing back jobs and making America great again masks the reality, the loss of 3 million jobs during his presidency. Of course, any fair assessment must consider the implications of the pandemic, but contrast that with Biden's addition of over 14 million jobs, and the argument that the Republicans are the true stewards of the economy seems tenuous. The GOP's reluctance to support beneficial policies such as the bipartisan infrastructure bill, yet readiness to champion the results in their districts, is telling. It reveals a fundamental truth. The primary goal is political gain over national prosperity. Infrastructure is an apolitical boon to the economy and public welfare, yet many Republicans voted against it, illustrating a glaring hypocrisy. They highlight its benefits only when it's politically expedient, knowing full well its positive impact. They wanted to deny Biden any wins, even at the expense of the country's well-being. In sum, the conservative narrative often clings to selective facts and an idealized version of the Trump era, while failing to responsibly acknowledge the interconnected nature of today's challenges. They seek to cast aspersions on the current administration's economic strides without offering a holistic or factual counter-argument, often preferring political gamesmanship over bipartisan solutions that truly put America's prosperity first.
This is the Trump stock market because my polls against Biden are so good that investors are projecting that I will win and that I will drive the stock market up. Everything else is terrible. Watch the Middle East, and record-setting inflation has already taken its toll. Make America great again. Ah, yes, stock markets, famously responsive to errant presidential polls 11 months out before the election. Tell you what, it sure is convenient how, if the stock market goes up, Trump gets all the credit, even if he's not the president. And if the stock market had gone down, well, something tells me that suddenly the polling wouldn't be quite as significant as Trump is making it out to be now. Heads I win, tails you lose. The Biden campaign has responded to Trump's screed, with a spokesman issuing a statement saying, quote, "Thank you, Donald, for lifting up today's strong economic news, but on this planet, Joe Biden is the president and is the one whose policies are helping achieve historic GDP growth, a stronger than ever stock market, and real job creation after Trump tanked our economy." And to that point, it wasn't just the stock market that reached record highs. The unemployment rate has remained below 4% for 22 straight months, the longest stretch in over 50 years. Consumer sentiment is now surging to its highest point in 2 years. Wage growth is exceeding inflation. The last quarterly GDP exceeded 3% growth. We've got the fastest recovery of every G7 country. I'm sorry, but the Republicans are out there pretending Trump ran a strong economy. The guy lost 3 million jobs. Biden has added over 14 million. This is the economy that Republicans always promised to deliver while falling short every time. The truth, though, is that Republicans and their mouthpieces are rooting for a bad economy because their goal isn't prosperity for Americans, it is helping themselves politically. That's why, for example, most Republicans voted against the bipartisan $1.5 trillion infrastructure bill, only to then go back to their districts and tout the money that they voted against. They clearly knew it was good policy, that's why they fall over themselves to steal the credit, but still they tried to sabotage it because they didn't want to give Biden the win. To them, it was and still is more important to hurt the Democrats than to help the people they were elected